One of the things we talked about last night, I was having the plan, right? Having that plan, whatever it is. And so one of the plans is I'm going to stay on the gap list. That's all I'm going to do, right? And so what you can do is you hear me in the morning when I get on is not only am I trying to aggregate the gaps in anything new, right? But you can hear me typing it in. I'm typing in the ones, the threes, the fives, the 15s, right? And what you can do here is go to the 30s and 60s, right? If you want to really slow it down, right? And you'll see people that do that. Because if you do that, then all you have to do is review that list every 30 minutes, 60 minutes. And as we saw, if you just waited for Alexian 60 on the gapper list, this takes 2 hours to set up, right? 2 hours. And it went boom right here. And so as this is forming, all right? Yep. Let me make sure we can hear. Got new folks, so bear with us. Going to make sure we can hear. Click the camera. Thank you, Keith. So this takes 2 hours to set up. So when you look at this, you have an entire hour to know that this is setting up as an inside 60, right? An entire hour to be like, is this taking this out or no? It's not. And then you can look at the guts. Look at the guts. Big bar, inside, goes up, inside 30. 30 here, breaks at 133.16, right? 133.16. The 60 doesn't break till 132.14, which you could hit again, right? And then you can set it and forget it if you want. You know, I mean, some people are more active than others, but what I mean by set it and forget it, once that breaks, you ain't taking this high out. So you can let it bounce around and feel like I'm not gonna cover until it makes a higher high in the 60. Boom, here. And that's not till 126. All right? All right, good. So 132, there's $6 on that. You can juice that with the 30. And even on the 30, doesn't make higher high. Right? And even goes inside 30 here. You can hit more. Right? And then this inside 30 here triggered that 60 back up. You can cover and reverse here. The 30, I'm going to cover and reverse at 125.70 as soon as it takes this out. And the 60 hammer, 126.05. I can cover and reverse. So I made all of that, covered and reversed, and got a little extra morsel at the end of the day. Right? You can do that. If you look at CVTI, right? And it runs and then just sits up in here all day. So be it. This 15 here, and somebody asked me about this too. I was like, you can take that. Oh, yeah. Inside momentum hammer here, right? And that takes that out at 31.13, 14, and goes up in 15 minutes. And then right here, when it doesn't start going and making higher highs, doesn't go 2, goes 1, you just get out, just cover it. Or you can leave your stop here even and just let it do what it's going to do, right? So there's those ways to watch the gappers, right? So I want to be clear about, how you can go about that. And not everything's going to work perfectly like that. There are going to be days there's gap and sits. There's stuff that doesn't go. It's the ones that really do go, right? I mean, there'll be people that go their entire career without doing something like this. Their entire career without taking a 60 down for $6 or $8, right? There'll be people who do that. And that might be you until now, right? So there's that. Another thing I talked about was staying on the videos. Be like, I'm just going to stay on what we know about the videos. All right, so what did we know about the vids last night? OIH. Inside day. Right? Did we know about that? We did. Yeah, we did. All right. So inside day here on OIH. And now if we break it down to the 60, OIH on the day, 3-2-60. Right here. Opens the day, goes boom, 3, 2, and never looks back. Right? And what I was doing last night and tonight is trying to show you a little more passively how newer folks can just do it without having to think that you always got to be in the 5 and the 1. You don't have to do that. Right? When this 3-2 goes down, you just keep your stop in here. And then you can march it down on the 60. Higher high? Nope. Keeps going 2. 2, 2, 2, cover. All right? And if you look at NOV, that was on there, right? Inside day down puker. Opens the day as an outside 60. You can even take that down to 30, 15 probably. 30. 30 does the 60. 2, 2. Let me get that pointer. 3, 2. 2, 2. Any higher highs? No, 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 no. 1. You can hit more. 2, 2, 2. Cover. Right? Pretty cool on that. So I wanted to point that out. Another thing that I wanted to point out was that whether things are in the video or not, right? During the day, if you're trying to do things on the fly, that's okay too. But it's very important to be able to pull up the monthly, weekly, daily, 60, all that stuff, right? Because when I talked about going through when we started to get a little slow, so we knew that the SPY on the day, a lot of things were close to inside days, if not, right? A lot of doing nothing on the broader average stuff, right? So we want to be real careful on this, right? As we came in 60, we're like, all right, we're not really doing very much in here, right? So at that point, midday, I talked about we got to go after things that are moving, right? And that's where I'll go after stuff and say SJM, right? And so when you pull up SJM, all right, we're not going to get this, the 3-2-60, because I didn't know about it at that time. You might have if you're good, but really good. But when I call things out, pull it up. What do you see? This is a 2-2, right? This is a 2-2 back down through a bunch of stuff. So midday, I went through the dailies and said, this is something we want to be involved in, right? And it might be grindy. Grind, grind, grind. But we'll look for something like this. Triangle them out. Come back up. The two's against what we're looking for until it goes 2 back down. All right? 2 up, 2 down. See ya. 1, 2. Down, 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 down. All right? INCY. All right? I talked about this on the 60 here. And Jim was like, you're a little late on that, Rob. I still want that. I'm like, still good. Right? Because if you can see here, 1 inside 60, 2 up to triangle the out, the 1, 2, 2 reversal and just gets cremated, right? And so here it takes out that and that. That's part of the objective, but we can still look to take this out, right? And the reason is because if you look at all the time frames. This is an outside day. That's a 3-2. Taking all this stuff out, right? So when it comes down here, and we're at exhaustion risk here, because we might not take this stuff out, but if we complete the triangle, we're going to go all these guys gone, right? So I want to point that out. So I want to be very clear that if you're not sticking with one of the plans that we talked about last night, right, and you're just going to sit down and try and bang it out, right? Understand this stuff and pull up all the time frames, because oftentimes I'm moving around so fast. Remember, I expect us to work as a team. And so if I see INCY and you're pulling this up and I don't say it's 3-2 day, I expect you to know that, right? Because you're pulling up those multiple time frames, right? And, okay, just rocked a yesterday. So what do we got here? Rocked a yesterday. What's this? That's a 3. 3-2 up. Right there. Right, so even if you missed all this, which is fine, 3-2 up. 43.81. Bam. And when it closed $10 higher in the next hour. If you go to the 30, it goes rocketing higher, right? Then 2 up, 2 down, 2 down, 2 down, 2-2 reversal right here. Boom. You're back in right here above 38.25. 2, 2, 2, 2-2 reversal out here on the 30. See that? And I know this stuff, Daryl's a little new, but this is you want to be able to understand how these twos are working, and as they line up with the 60 when that happens, right? When that occurs. Because here, this is an outside, right? So the 3-2, the 13.30, and the 30 here was at 13. So what had happened was, is like when this worked and went up, you see how this is a lower low? When this 30 worked and went up into here, this was a lower low, and see how that was the higher high of that? That created the 3 on the 60. So you're already in on the 30, and you can add on the 60 on the 3-2. Booyah. Bam. Make sense? No, yeah, because it's in the video. It's a 1. If that 60 goes back up, yeah, but here's why. Because here, it's still a higher low. It's moving higher, albeit hairy, right? Albeit harrowing moments. But if we can open this and take that up, oh yeah. Sure, we'll take that. Now, it's not for everybody. I mean, it's sexy and everybody wants it. But you can do that, sure. Now, the problem tomorrow is you got a good chance at inside day, right? Even if we start going, you got a good chance at inside day. Okay, I'll make sure everybody's trying to get in here. Okay. So, there's that. Another thing that I talked about last night, and I don't want to get too advanced, right? Because especially this week when I'm trying to make sure everybody's up to speed. But there's some things that you're going to want to be able to do as you go forward. Right now, I want you to keep it as simple as possible. But there's a lot of people that do understand this and are here to help you, for sure. But one of the things you want to be able to do is see time frames that aren't there, right? That aren't presented on the charting. And you'll find this pretty cool. Don't worry if you don't get this right away. All right? Here's what I want to show you. If we go back on the SPY, right? And I'm going to redraw all this stuff. So here's the broadening formation breakout that we got, right, going back from 97 until the breakout till 2013, right? And so when we see a broadening formation, and we can see the end of it here, this low, remember the D low was in '09, right? And then we came out and took out this high, right, here in 12, 3 years, right? And so when you look at a chart like this, what that means is, because we took out the lows of the previous 3 years, if when you can see charts that aren't there, when we broke out of here, that's a 3-year 3-2. Because it was an outside 3 years. If you had a 3-year chart, this would be an outside 3 years, and then this went 3-2 and gone, right? And from here, right, from 13 to 16, right, here, that was a 3-2. And so I'm not saying you have to do this on the longer term stuff. It's kind of cool to look at. And one of the things that I brought up, I mean, when you get really good at this, this really helps, right? Because we know that there's only 1, 2, and 3, and the charts will only be pulled up on what software allows you to do. Your mind can change what's going on, what's being presented to you to see what it's really doing. So if we go back to this, and I brought this up late in the day today, I thought it was kind of fun, but when you go to it, this is the broadening formation from my birth to my graduation in high school. All right, and so anybody who's been with me for a few weeks or a month or so really found this interesting, because you've seen me draw this on 1 minute, 5 minutes all day long. The broadening formation goes up here, then breaks out, then tests, then goes. All right. So when you look at something like this, most people would never touch the market up here after trading in here. Like, this thing's way up there, there's no way I'm touching it. And then you miss all this real gunning, right? So what's interesting here is here's where they're triangling them out. Triangle them out, triangle them out, triangle them out, triangle them out. This low here was in 1976, right? And then you come up into here, that's 1981, right? It's 5 years. I'm sorry, this is 75. That's 6 years to here. So this and this were the outside 6 years of this. So when it came ripping through here, that's a 3-2-6 year. All right? So from 81, you had a 3-2-6 year until, guess where? 87. And that was the big one. Right? So you were 3-2, and then 87 said, I don't think so. And then 87, triangled they out. Triangled they out, and then went back to the highs, and then triangled them out again in the 80s and stuff like that. But that's a little bit down the road for most people. But definitely want you to be able to think about those terms, because as I talked about last night when SPY did this on the weekly, this, I want you to be able to see that as a big outside 2-weeker, right? And we knew that was going to go into the monther and be an inside month. But this is the importance of being able to see what we know, even on the charts that aren't there. Okay? Yeah, good, you're in. So everything's recorded, and just be aware of that. So, and we're going to do this all the time. So that's my little introduction. I thought that was pretty good. And since we did a long one last night, I really just want to sit here and be able to answer the questions that you might have after last night and take it from there. So if you got questions, type them in. Okay, if you place your stop 1 cent below the bar that takes out a regular hammer, what if the range of that bar that took out the hammer has a long range, therefore create too much risk? Can you place the stop 1 cent below the high of the hammer that was taken out? Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I'm getting this. Okay. If you place your stop 1 cent below the bar that takes out a regular hammer. Okay. Now, Greg, remember, everything matters. So it's going to be the regular hammer of what? Is it a month? Is it a week? Is it a day? And how much information do we have? Right? Place your stop 1 cent below the bar that takes out a regular hammer. What if the range of that bar that took out the hammer has a long range and therefore create too much risk? So, okay, so it came from like bottom of the hammer and, all right, Loyola Ramblers win. All right, anyway. Right, and so that goes back into what we were talking about last night as far as looking at the guts, is what is the triangle on the shorter term, whatever we're looking at hammer, how far did it have to come to get there? So does it have a small triangle where you're just going to gun out of that thing, measured move, right? Or has it come all the way from almost taking the hammer down to barely coming up to it? So that's going to be a lot to have to do with the internal triangle stuff that takes it out, depending on what time frame you're looking at. And always a combination of all the different time frames. What's going on? The reason I preach that 1 second, that 1 cent, is because I want to make sure people don't get killed. I can deal with people getting chopped up because I can solve that problem, right? The problem I have that is difficult to solve is people letting themselves get killed, right? I can deal with I'm getting chopped up. That's going to happen because that's what's going to happen when you don't understand the triangles. Right? But I'm not going to let people get buried and killed. Never. Never. Right? The worst thing that should happen is you get chopped up in commissions and stuff like that. That's the worst thing that's possibly going to happen with us. Right? And we can solve that problem because you're building those tight triangles. Because another thing that's good here, and if anybody listens to this and is part of our community but can't be here during the day, because we do learn a lot and do a lot of things during the day, you can email and make sure that I answer these questions and they're recorded, right? And because I like to have this library for everybody. Alexion, yeah, that's what I'm sorry. You weren't. I just went through that, but here. So here's what I was saying. Inside 60. This takes 2 hours to form. Boom. When this thing is forming, you can look at the guts. What happened? It went inside 30. The 30 triggered the inside 60. Here. Here. No higher high, no higher high, no higher high. You go to the 30. Boom. No higher high, no higher high. Inside, hit it again. No higher high, no higher high. If this inside 30 works at the end of the day, all right, it triggers the 60 hammer, 2-2. You reverse and get a little bit more money. Tesla. Yeah. So Tesla, what do we know about Tesla? Tesla inside month. Is that a problem? Yeah. Tesla's an inside month as we know it right now. Right? That means it can reverse back and forth. Right? It's red, but it's inside. For the week. For the week, 3 weaker, 2 down, 2 up, but now coming back 3. Now you got yourself another 3. All right? Now we got a triangle within the bigger one, which we can expect because it's still inside month. We can expect this thing to go back and forth because it's consolidating. Daily goes up, triangle layout, inside day, puke, take these guys out, but not strong enough to fall apart, right? Because it's still consolidating inside month. Go to 60. Right. Here, chop them up. Inside, start, goes up, comes back, goes down, 2, 1, 2. So we got the inside 60 down. Right. Yep, to the tick. That was inside 60 down. Triangles them out. Here, takes out the lows. These guys. Goes 2, 2, 260 reversal back up with the help of the inside 30. Here, 3, 2. I'm sorry, 3, 1, 2. All right. Then stalls out end of the day. Slide higher high. Rev Strat here because we can expect this back and forth stuff because it's still inside month. But now you're going to have a 3-weeker coming into next week. Internal tries. Right. You get chewed up if you don't understand that. The good thing about Tesla is the big enough moves. So when you trade something like that, you're going to take the profits. Where okay, Ramesh, we'll see you in the morning. So what I mean by that is in the course I talk about guys will just take that setup, and when you have inside month and all this conflict or anything, you take that setup. And what I mean by that is here. When this thing goes inside 30, you don't mess around. That's all you wanted, right? Like after this, I don't care what it does, but I'm going to take that inside 30 that goes 260, and right here, as soon as that times out, I'm going to put my stop 1 cent on the bid and let them stop me out. How do we get unrocked on the minute? You're going to use the triangles for one, right? You got to know where the triangles are, right? Triangle they out, lower low, inside, inside 1, go, right? Triangle they out, slide higher high, 2, 2 reversal down, go, right? But you're not, not everybody's cut out for this, right? Cut out for that kind of thing, right? So unless you are, I wouldn't worry about it. Like I said, just take the 10 buck or 60, would you? It's all the same thing, Daryl, man. It's everything. It's as I was showing you on the macro charts going decades back down to the one. It's all the same thing. It's a matter of how fast you can process it and execute it. AXLN. I don't got AXL. Oh, Alexion? We don't expect anything, ever. We don't expect. What do we know to be true? It'll tell us. What's the month doing? How do we do our analysis? We start by looking at the month. If not the quarter or the year, but what's it doing? Right now, this thing's still 2 month to the upside. Right? It's still 2 month to the upside. For the week, it's still green on the week. Right? And it's still 2 week to the upside. You got a good chance at an inside week next week. And it's Friday. Now, if you go up, you're going to have a tough time not being an inside day, which means you can get chopped up. But you also have the possibility of having full time frame continuity back to the upside tomorrow. Now, if you take this out, right, then it's the 1, 2, 2, back down. Then we'll talk. Yeah, spreads, Jamie. Like I said, this is not for everybody. And that's why one of the things I talked about this afternoon, I'll talk about it right now. You don't have to be a hero. This thing goes 30 down. I don't care if you hit them with 50 shares, 20 shares. They want $6, $7. If you hit them with 50 shares, you know, 300, 350 bucks on 50 shares. Yeah. And then if you want to whale more on the way down, that's fine because you're already playing with their money. That's why I talk about adding. Most people come and they're like, they take their initial position and they either trim and trail out or whatever they do. But because of these moves can be so large, you don't have to have a lot of shares. Hell, come in with 10 shares and make $70. Right? What kind of heat are you going to take on 10 shares? Yeah, Daryl makes sense. Also, you want to make sure that even if you're going on the 1 minute, you're going to be using those combinations, those threes, fives, and then you can then go down to the one. It's Rev Strat 5, outside 3, inside 1, and then take the 1 to trigger them all. Always want to be looking for those combinations. That's right. The way the strat is constructed gives you huge security against losses. Yes, without question. That's when I first came to T3. The first thing I told them, the first thing I told them is I want everything I've ever said to be documented. The second thing I said was I'm going to train your people how to not get killed. Then we'll worry about making money because that's most people's problem. I keep getting killed. I want to make money. I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, you can't make money to stop getting killed. All right. Here's how to not get killed. Then we'll train you to make money. Greg, it's not really a personal preference on the time frames that you trade on. It's really a matter of what you can handle, right? And what you want. It is somewhat of a preference, but as I'm showing you in Alexion, stuff like this would be the trade of the month for most people. They would never do this. They would go all month without a 6-7 bucker in a day, right? And so that's why I tell if you're going to sit on the gappers, sit on the gappers. It happens all the time, right? It happens all the time. And if it's not a gapper day and everything else is going, don't worry about it. Because we know when it is, it is. It is. Triangle day out. Fick. Back into the try she go. Right, trade what is happening, what you know to be true. There's no subjectivity, right? Just do it, and it's a matter of the execution, and that's why you can see a lot of people here that have been with me for a long time. They don't have to be here tonight, but they like to help people like I like to help people and be like, come watch the community work, right? Everybody wants to see everybody succeed because they know how good it is when you get it. That aha moment, eureka. TC is on the hourly closes on how do you get around this. T-Mobes, what's up? You can either get another charting software, Lauren, or because you can go Thinkorswim, I think, for free, right? Or you train your mind like I was talking about seeing different time frames, like I was talking about before. No, no. Everything matters. You got to know actionable signals, time frame continuity. So, like I was saying before, want to see that's something that's cool. TC2000 I don't use for charting. I just use it for the scan. And you may never be as good as I am at drawing tries. That's fine because you don't have to. But this old try, right to it, right here. Anyway, what I was saying, when you understand time frame continuity, today was actually inside day and up. Even though it did this was an inside day and up, 1-2, right? 1-2. No matter what you say, right? But as I just pointed out, it's still 2-2 on the month to the upside. It's green. It's still green on the week, right? Which means that when you open tomorrow and go up, you have full time frame continuity to the upside. This thing's still a buy. Believe it or not, this thing's still a buy. Okay. So you don't have to be the master of everything. But as I talked about last night, and if you couldn't be here last night, watch last night's. For everybody who couldn't make it, that's good. You got to have a plan, and we got to get you to stick to it so that you're profitable as soon as possible in the simplest, easiest way. You stay on your plan because once you do that, you can branch out forever. You can trade anything. You trade all this stuff. But once you are focused on one set of stocks, one set of studies, that kind of stuff, you can branch out forever. You won't live long enough to trade it all. I hope you do, but take it from the guy who's got 16 screens and see this stuff all day. You can't. You can't get it all. You just got to keep staying on where we are during the day. And the great thing about honing your skills on one set, just the gappers, just the this, just the that, is that eventually then you can pull back and branch out to what I'm communicating with me during the day, the movers. When I go there, and you go boom, and I pull something up, right? It's like DXR. When I say DXR, I don't expect to have to say it a million times. Get. Get. One, two, Rev Strat, countered the Rev Strat with a hammer counter shooter. Bam! Right there, at 15, just. Okay. We don't care about reasons. No. It's going up or it's going down. Kicking horse was the kicking pattern? Yeah. The kicker, yeah, you want something additional, but the kicker will also be a 2-2 reversal. Right? Anybody got a good kicker? Where were we today? Sorry, it's been a long week. What was that, HGV or something? I think it was kicker, right? Here we go, kicker. So this kicker variation, ideally you want it to gap through that, but as soon as this thing takes this thing, this is actually a 3-2 down. All right, triangle they out. Oops. All right, and then once it goes through here, comes up, and then comes back through here, you can slam it through here as kicker. Yeah, you can go after that. Then you get your inside 60 here. Puke. Right, only gappers or diamonds in that. Right. And Greg's, been here, and like everybody who drinks the Kool-Aid at first gets here and be like, I love the Kool-Aid, man, but it's just way too much. Only take it easy. Pick your flavor. Pick your flavor of a Kool-Aid. Because after that, the punch bowl is always full. There's always more. When trading on Friday, we're using weekly options that should expire. What should I be looking at tomorrow? If this, then I should watch Amazon and futures to give the best direction. Well, here's the thing about it is that the problem we're having is now we're drying up in the middle of all this stuff. So here's what I mean about that. The weekly SPY does this. Puts us in conflict. Month, green inside. Week, slight higher high. So here's another thing that I want you to write down. And I want a post-it note on your computer because I know that even the scenarios are new to all of us. I want you to put a post-it note that says, what's the next two? That's what we want to know. What's the next two? So when we're looking at SPY here, what's the next two? Because if next week we take this out, we're potentially triangle they out, two, and take care of this thing. Right? So tomorrow we're in conflict. We've got the SPY doing almost nothing here, albeit twoing back in. Right? If we keep twoing back in, maybe we get something. But what we're going to do tomorrow is see if we get anything. We've got Facebook inside day. We're drying up on a bunch of this stuff, right? So it's probably going to be more news-related stuff than the usual suspects because they aren't doing much. Right? So when you have the ranges like this, SPY doing this, we'll watch this tighter triangle stuff like we did on the SPY Fiver all day. So if you weren't with us during the day, and I'll redraw it for you. Oh, I go to 30. I think that's cleanly drawn. You see this? This is tight triangle business as far as the futures are concerned. Lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low. How do we get out of this? Right? And so we can watch that. I mean, we're coming through strikes and stuff. We'll watch that during the day. But we're going to want to get some information here because we're in conflict. And we're an inside month. So as far as the futures are concerned, these ranges might get worse, like we saw today. All right? End of quarter, we'll get to that because everybody's, as we get closer to, we also got expiration, right, tomorrow of the monthly options. So a lot of people are freaked out. What do? Do we stay long? Are we going to tank? They don't know what to do. And now we're kind of in a little bit of a purgatory. Right? Somebody's got to throw a punch, right? Right? Somebody's got to throw a punch, and they've already done that. Let's take them up. Let's take them down. Let's take them up. Let's take them down. Let's take them up. Back in here. Start all over again. And you go to the monthly. That meets equilibrium, right? So unless we take this out, now we come into April and be like, all right, who wants to take out the monthly highs or lows? All right? That's right. They're all exhausted. They can't take them up. They can't take them down. Eventually, somebody's got to be like, all right, come back, bring your boys, I'll bring my boys, and then we're going to fight it out again. Because the two of us, it's a draw. It's a draw. Right? So we come in April and be like, how are we going to take this out? Now, we got some time on this. Maybe we do take it out. But if we don't, we got an inside month. Then somebody's got to throw that punch. And so that's why we look at the internals. What do the guts look like? What's this triangle going to look like when we try and take out the month? Right? Will it be overextended and slightly take the month and then get cremated again? Right? Or you have a sub-triangle that comes next to those, that sucks right next to the highs or the lows. And it's the triangles because that you'll see sometimes you're like, it broke and then it came back in and I got stopped out and then it really went. That's why you do battle, right? It just triangled a few guys out, but then it came back in, triangled the other guys out, who said, ha, false breakout, I'm going to short it. And then really breaks out the second time. Second mouse gets the cheese. And that's why you want to look at all the internals and what's going on. And that's why in the last week's video, what I said was, yeah, we're an inside week in the SPY. Not by much, but we were. But if we take that out, here's what we did to get there. We had to go from here all the way up to there to get there. And that's why I didn't say, inside week, buy everything you got. I did not say that. I said we just traveled to the top of the try to get there. Suspect. If it goes, it goes. But if it doesn't, we're certainly not going to hang around and say, inside week break, everybody should be long. Right? And that's why, like last night, I was talking about everything matters. Right? You got to know the triangles, you got to know time frame continuity, the actionable signals, and you've got to know the scenarios and what's going on in the longer term time frame. Because you look on Twitter, you look at these guys out there talking, they have no clue that it's an inside month on them. Look at CNBC. Has anybody said there's an inside month? I don't think so. They've talked a little bit about consolidation. I don't know, Santoli has, but that's what you want to know. That's why we put it all together. The 3-2 and the liquid options and how far out of the money do I buy something at the money tomorrow? You'd go at the money. Oh, yeah. Go right at the money and then let that 3-2 play out. And like I said, depending on what it is, as you get to that time exhaustion, if it's a 5-minute and you're 4 minutes in, look to get out. Just take the money. There's times to hit and run, and that's an inside month. Right? And maybe it goes, maybe it doesn't, and we have certain things that will be triangles. Right? My Twitter is at Robin the Black. I'll type it in. Right? And there'll be times that, like, of course, yes, do we want to add? We do. But you've got to know that the triangles are going to enter into that, and what's going on. Everything's going to enter into that when we do that. What maybe we requantified the strat into 3 scenarios? Well, I'll tell you. I was actually in church on Christmas Eve, and during the service, I was trying to worship, and the things were playing out in my head. And I didn't understand what was going on, but I walked 5 miles from my church to my office, and while I did that, everything played out in my head. And I sat down at the computer, and I was like, Merry Christmas to me. I was like, you people are going to love this. I looked at it, and I was like, this makes it so much cleaner and easier. And so it took me 20 years to develop the universal truths, and it took me another 7 to quantify it this way. And now it's so much clearer. We can get everything. It's so much clearer that we can get everything. And yeah, it was wild. It was really wild. Sitting in church, me like, Lord, why are you doing this to me? I'm trying to worship you. He's like, I'm telling you something. He's like, I'm giving you a present. And then I came in on the day after Christmas, or that Tuesday, and I was laughing so hard, I told everybody here, all the people who've been with me for years, I'm like, you're not going to believe this, but I've made it even easier. And I was laughing, and I was like, watch this. Because you used to have to sit there and go, is it a rev strat? Hold on, it's a penny. Hold on, we're looking. I'm like, 1, 2, 2, go. Like, what's that? I don't know. Is that? It's not inside. Is that a hammer? 2, 2, 2. Continuation. Get. We can get everything now. There's nothing we can't get. So it's a Christmas I'll never forget. And then I came in on New Year's Day to make the greatest story video. And I said, this is how this year's going to start. This was this year. And that's why there's not a lot of information about how to do this. This is brand new. But the people who've been with me for a long time already know how the strat works, right? And so they could incorporate this very quickly. It's not like a big leap of we're changing anything. We're just making it easier. So that's what happened. And another great thing is when new people come here, it's like you can see how simplistic this is. And that's why we talked about last night was it's a matter of breaking it down to what you can handle and what you're going to follow. And then you can expand it, right? Everything can be broken down into 3, 2, 1 with checking the time frame continuity. Correct. Yes. Opposite direction of the next 2? No. No, you can go with the 2, depending on which one we're talking about. The 2 means it's go time. It's a matter of whether we want to take that 2 or not. Right? One is when the new bar is same size or less than prior bar. Yep. Whatever it may be, 5 minute, could be monthly, anything. 2, when a new bar is higher than the prior bar, or when the new bar is lower. Right? Takes out one side. And 3 is when takes it both out. That's it. You got it. And you can't go 3 without going 2 first. It's impossible. And it's impossible for price action not to do this. So when they say algos or markets are changing, it's impossible for price action not to do these things. Therefore, when we put them together across the multiple time frames, we know exactly what's going on. Then it's a matter of using the broader averages, the sectors, the subsectors to the stock, putting the relationships together. And if it takes some people a little bit longer, so be it. It's kind of fun learning. And once you know this stuff, you never get worse at it, and you're set for life. And you don't care what anybody says. Right? And you can't talk to anybody else about the market that doesn't know this because they're going to sound like an idiot, right? That's the problem. You have to be with us now until the revolution is complete. And as much as sometimes Twitter people say, you're disrespecting other people's work. I'm like, yeah, I pretty much am. But doesn't mean I don't like them as a person. Right, 15 years of all the crap. But when you think it through, it doesn't make any sense. Right? You were just told to do that. Right? One of the things that I did, well, I threw pretty much everything out immediately. And once I went through all the books and stuff, I was like, none of this makes any sense. It's like, why would that work? I'm like, because he says. Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense. And so I traded a lot of order flow, and I traded a lot of relative performance. That I did know what to do. It's like, everything's weak, that's strong. Buy that. Right? Everything's weak, strong. That's weak, short that. That I did understand. Right? But every book always had the asterisk. Well, it works in some markets, not in other markets. I'm like, well, what? How am I supposed to know what market we're in? Because by the time it does it, oh, well, no, it's not doing that anymore. What? You see, by the time I figured out that we're in that market, it is not in that market anymore. Worthless. Good. Greatest story. When a 2 starts, where do you put the stop? 1 cent above or below what you got in. But it's also understanding. You can give it more room. We just have to understand how much evidence we have. Right? How much evidence do you have that this is going to work? Full time frame continuity in the S&P. It's in the S&P sector, multiple time frames. So when you go through the course, I talk about you can loosen it up. You just have to know how much information we have on why this thing's going to work. How do you handle this situation? We get a 12-3 bar on the hold on. You're going to have to rephrase that. Anish, if you could rephrase that question. Is this correction about 3 is when a new bar is higher and lower than the prior 1 or 2? Yes. Outside bar. Here's your 3 right here. It went up, went 2, and then went 3. And so the reason that this is important to know is that once it goes 2 and comes back in, it's a potential 3, right? Then, once it's in here, and this is red on the day, we're looking for any time that 60 is reconfirming that, right? Because it's red on the day, and it's a potential 3, right? You don't have to wait for it to go 3. We know it's going 3, because it's going to have a higher probability going 3 when this day is red, and that 60 goes red, and you got signals to the downside. We're going 3. That's why you can look at these potential 3s on the longer-term time frames, right? On the monthlies, on the yearlies. If you take out one side and come ripping back, it's in the greatest story video. Yeah, then anytime you've got full time frame continuity and actionable signals and full scenarios going back the other way, oh yeah, we're taking them out. Like here you go, 3. Anytime this thing went 60 red, this day's going 3. And the beautiful thing about that is you're already in when it goes 3-2. Here, smashes these guys, right? And if we're right, we're going to take them all out and go back bottom of the try, which it did. Right? And so if this tries really big, it'll do it again. It'll take all these guys out down here. It's the end of the world, but it'll still be inside month. And then you can come in and go straight back up again. And you'll see it over and over and over again. And the art is formerly known as the 1-bar rev strat. Well, the thing that's only an inside bar. That's why we wouldn't have caught this before. We would have known it's a try. But the rev strat's got to come off the inside bar. But here, we know that the 3's kicking in. Right? No, SPY just missed inside day. You get a 1, then a 2, then a 3? Okay. So 1 is inside. 2 breaks outside. Then the 3, the 3 could what does it do? Does it break the bottom of the two or the top of the two or the? It depends on which side. And so here but you got the diamonds inside day. But the problem, like I said in the video tonight, what's the problem with this inside day? What are the diamonds doing this month? Nothing inside month, right? This thing's doing nothing, right? And that's where, if you're watching the diamonds and you know the diamonds are doing nothing, you're watching for the divergence. Who's strong in the diamonds, who's weak in the diamonds versus the diamonds because they're doing nothing, right? But SPY just missed. It's in the video. It's in the video. Yes, SPY was 2 to the down, correct. SPY's potential 3 weaker. And here's what I talk about saying that those multiple time frames that you can't see. We're going to run out of time, right? Unless we get really killed, we're going to run out of time of being 1 bar rev strat inside week 1, 3. So we're going to be 1, 2. The question is, what's the next 2? Because if we keep 2ing, we could be a multi-bar 3 of the outside 1. And for tonight, I don't want to confuse people on that. But what's the next 2? Right? They keep walking them up. You're getting your higher lows and your higher highs. We're going to keep walking up to take out inside month highs. Or are you going to come ripping through these guys and give them the business? Rephrasing, if you get a 3 bar and you go long, yeah, get out. You're going to get murdered. If you're going to mess with 3s, Apple, you get murdered. Inside bar is a 1. 2 is takes out one side. Here, Apple went outside 3-monther. It was 3-2-monther down. The good thing about the longer term stuff is you had time to enjoy this and then get out, right, as she puke, right? That was 3-2 down. Triangle needs to grow. It did. 3-2 down, puker. Chop them up. Inside day. 3-2 down month, puke. Intraday. Come back up for the 2-2 reversal back in. And then you come back up all the way 3. Now, yes, you get out of 3s immediately. We don't take any heat. So the good thing about this is you get the outside day, inside day. So potential, now that it took that out, we could go 3-3-3 and take them all the way down to the backside. Should things like to rip through these guys and give them the biz. Right, Tim. It's like, that's why you want to understand where these triangles are. Are we going into higher highs? Are we coming back through ranges? Coming back through ranges is going to give you a lot of confidence. And Baba Doji day, all right? How do we get out of today's range, right? First of all, on a Friday, does hold the gap, right? It is weak and upper. It is 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, monther above 199.49. It's not quite there. Again, you can retake it. Yeah, because why coming back through ranges? Yeah, because we know people are going to be positioned against those ranges. You go into the highs, I have no idea. We have no idea what's up there. Then it's all momentum. You come back through this stuff, puke, right? Because you know you're in triangles. They're like slop here. Lower lows, higher high, lower low. You triangle them out, triangle everybody out. Okay, now you're free to peek. I'm long against that, are you? Boom. I'm long against that, are you? I'm long against that, are you? Boom, 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 boom. Right? Because you know you're going through the triangles. Yeah. And if you haven't been through the full course and all that, do that. And then during the day, we'll get through more of this stuff. But yeah, that's what Mark is just telling you. He's like, get through the stuff first. right? Don't try and have me teach you everything tonight, because you're not going to do that. Get through all the basic material first. Yes, we like the pivots feasting, feasting on the old guys, because people have to have a point of reference or where they get out if they're wrong. And so what that does is, when we do that with full time frame continuity and we go back through ranges, the reason that adds fuel to the fire is when we have full time frame continuity, what that means is every man, woman, child, and bot is not only a buyer, but they're willing to take the offer because the price is moving higher. Now, when you have those pivots, that adds fuel to the fire because there's people positioned on the wrong side. They're going to turn into additional buyers. They got to cover against these things. Redistribution of wealth. That's right. We turn their money into our money. But that's what that means. That's why it's important to come through there, right? Is because we're turning guys into buyers that don't want to be. They weren't planning on being buyers, but they are now, right? And we're already buyers, right? Everyone we know is a buyer. And everybody positioned on the wrong side is being forced into a buyer. That's a good thing for the price, just so you know. And that's what you hear. What's the news? What's the news? You're wrong, and you need to cover, and you're going to buy, and we're buyers. So the price is going up, just so you know. That's what's happening. It's a great feeling watching it, and that's why charts become hilarious once you understand this, right? The pivot slayer. Next. Right, next. I think it's going down. Do you? Then how come you're buying it? Because I have to cover. I thought you said it was going down. It's not. No, it isn't. Yeah, right. Join our team. Run it for us. And that's the important thing about knowing the change in continuity, knowing the actionable signals, because what's going on is we're watching the participants play on each other. And that's why we can go off oneers and stuff like that, because we're already gaming a bunch of other people. They're doing the work for us, right? We're not moving the market by ourselves. We're watching one group trigger another group, and we're already one big group of buyers, right? On the top bar, where's the new 2, which is now on everybody's screen? Where's the 2? 2. The 2. The 2. I'm sorry. The 2. 2. 2 reversal right here on the daily. SPY, we're not looking for much. If we can get the 2-2 down and keep puking, that's great. We're not looking for much out of the SPY. SPY's in conflict. It would be nice. It would be nice if we start puking into here. Yeah. If we start puking in here, if we go 2 again, that's something we'll want to know about. But until you understand how the triangles work, you don't want to you're not going to just bang it into the new lows. So if you haven't looked at all the videos, get through that as much as you can first. Yeah, good, and there's some good advice from Clint. Right. Because I'm going to get you where you need to be. I can't make you a doctor overnight, but once you get to it all, it makes so much sense, and then it's just a matter of your execution and your and how you track it. Get a hold of Amber or something. You'll get the videos. We'll get it to you. I know we got a lot of new people too, and everybody's like, I know you want to learn it as fast as possible. Let it sink in. Just let it sink in. Trust me on that part, right? Just let it sink in, because it will. And there'll be that bam moments and the bam moments and bam moments. And trust me, I put in the 28 years. I put in the legwork, right? So if it takes a little bit longer for some, that's okay. But one of the things that when you come to trading, people just turn into idiots, right? And nobody, and you're not idiot. People aren't idiotic. Normally, you see a red light, you stop. Otherwise, you know you're gonna get killed. In trading, they're like, "Hey, there might be $1,000,000 at the other side. Let's just go through the red light." It's so stupid. Don't listen to anything, right? But because this makes sense, and you're rational human beings, forget all the other garbage and just think in these terms, and then see it how it is, right? Blink every once in a while. There you go. Check with me, right? Right. You hear the bam, bam, bam when you start drawing those triangles. It's hilarious, and you'll see. Which if you watch CNBC and you'll see them pull up any chart during the day, anything. I don't care what it is, you're going to see the triangle, and they're not going to see it. Here's what this looks like. What do you think's going to happen? Like, gee, I wonder. And you'll see it. Everything, line charts, anything they pull up, you'll see the triangles. And that's why you'll see guys who are calling breakouts. You're like, you better hope so. You'll see those guys really get destroyed. You see, it's making a higher high. It's a breakout. We think we should get along here. I'm like, do you? Really? It's Friday. You got a new month coming, boy. Bam. Not only is you wrong, you real wrong, and you went completely to the bottom of the range that you never dreamed would go to on something you just told people to buy. Oh, you'll see it. Okay, well, on that note, we had a good one last night. A lot of new people here that really need to get up to speed, and don't worry about, do it at your time, get there, listen to it, understand it, and when you look at the charts, rifle through any chart, speak out loud. What do you see? What do you see as far as time frame continuity? Go through that level. What number is that? Remember that every new day has two of the four major time frames start over every day, right? And when you get through the videos, you'll understand control and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about getting it overnight, and I know it's very exciting because I love it and everybody here loves it. But just take that time. You can watch last night and all that stuff, and we do this every week, right? I'm going to do this every week until you get it, and I'm going to be on the headset all day, and I'm going to do what I got to do. So we'll cut it there. I think last night was good. I think tonight's good too. And welcome to new people. And as you can see, there's a big community here that's going to help, right? Because I've rubbed off on them. They know how much I put into them. They want to put it into you, and they know that I get better by teaching. They also get better by teaching. I mean, like, if I put you in the same spot, if I have to explain to you what we do, everybody gets better. So on that note, all right, thanks for coming out. We'll see you bright and early in the morning.